Okay, hopefully we are live and everything is working and the lights aren't on yet. I knew I'd forgotten something. The sun's setting. It's a nice setting. It's the the golden hour or golden hour. Sorry about that. That was Kath doing her usual.
What did they do?
Dave's sitting on her keyboard. Video isn't working. Says last man standing. Is it working? Are we not working? Can you see and hear me? Gotcha, Mike. All is well on my end. Video good, audio good. Michael says Willy Bob. All looking good here, says Glenn. Thank you very much. If you're having problems with YouTube at the moment, it seems there is widespread stuff going on. So you may need to update your Chrome browser, although it seems to be, in some instances, actually breaking the browser. So if you have updated Chrome and you're experiencing problems, you might want to try and revert back or open up another browser if you possibly can. Alternatively, what was the other thing I was going to say? No, can't remember. It's basically a Chrome thing, so it's kind of somewhat broken. There has been an update which is making Chrome crash and video playback have issues, but hopefully you're all hopefully it's all good. Potentially, yeah, there's a Windows update as well, which is I can't think what the knowledge base number is, but there's a Windows update which was out yesterday, I think it was. So potentially that might be doing it as well. But hopefully you can all see me and or hear me. Excellent stuff. Nice to see some of you join us on tonight's stream, even though it is midsummer here in the UK. It's actually quite mild out. Sun still somewhat visible. Quite a mild night. It is currently 23.6 degrees Celsius here in the studio with 50, is that 50? 50% humidity. Not bad at all. And I would imagine it's somewhat warmer and hotter in Intel's head office right now. They're not having a good time. They're really not. For those of you that haven't heard or have not been following the tech media news, yeah, Intel are having some very, very serious problems at the moment. There are suggestions that they have lost up to, or possibly even surpassing, 30% of their market cap. So if you've got any shares in Intel, my sincerest condolences to you, because they have hit very, very hard. 30% drop, that's a lot. And if you've got your life savings tied up in Intel, yeah, that is not a great look at all. Somewhere in the region of $40 billion they have lost in the last day or two. That's a lot of money. And they'll print some more, don't worry, it's absolutely fine. But yeah, Intel is, yeah, they're not having fun times right now. And it'd be interesting, well, interesting is probably the wrong word, but it's going to be perplexing for, I think, for a lot of us. Because what makes competition in the market is multiple players. So if there is one player which is out on top, then it's not much fun for us all. Look at what NVIDIA have done. They are the market leader by a massive, massive margin. And look where GPU prices have got. So Intel for many years have been pretty much riding the wave of having the majority of sales. They may not have the market share in terms of hearts and minds, but certainly in terms of actual raw production volume, sales, yeah, they literally crush AMD in pretty much every instance. Although recently, well, probably the last 3 to 5 years, AMD have been having a significant comeback in the kind of the rack space section. So servers, things like that, they've been doing really, really well. So gaining some of that market share back. And of course, for those of us that are using AMD Ryzen processors, either on the AM4 or on the AM5 platform, you kind of know where you stand. It's a nice platform, there's longevity, there's constant updates. Generally, there's going to be a new processor around the corner at some point or other. And we've got to think, AM4 has been going strong now for best part of 8 years, I think it is. So that is an incredible lifespan of a single platform. And is basically very similar to that of a console in terms of how long they're on sale for, if not longer. So yeah, AMD have been doing a lot of good things recently. Unfortunately, on the graphics side of things, They're not quite as competitive as kind of we all know, especially in terms of ray tracing and some of those other specific features such as CUDA, which a lot of people do rely on for things like video editing and for certain productivity tasks. So the kind of the business side of the market and also the high-end gaming market is pretty much owned by NVIDIA, and we so hoped that Intel were going to come along and bring out their new Battlemage range of graphics cards and give NVIDIA and AMD a real good thumping in the marketplace, but I would say that is somewhat unlikely to happen now, being that Intel have also confirmed that they are laying off, I believe, 15,000 workers. I think it was 15,000, it might have been 1,500, I'm pretty sure it's 15,000. I do need to recheck that, but if anyone wants to do that, you can do and put it in the comment section. Intel are having a really bad time. And as someone who does reviews on tech products, both Intel and AMD, and obviously NVIDIA as well, it's a kind of awkward position at the moment. Intel stuff is very, very unpopular. There are certain very small niches which it does well in terms of views and general interest. But overall, on the whole, if I do a review of an Intel motherboard, it really will struggle to get views. Now, there's some videos like boss flashes and overviews, they generally will do good regardless, because people will buy the stuff eventually and it does come out. Sometimes they are kind of like almost like evergreen videos. So as time moves on, as it gets cheaper, as they go into the second-hand market, etc., you start then seeing a few more views. But in terms of Intel stuff, when it's brand new, fresh out of the box, the views are terrible, to be completely frank with you. So as much as I like to do a little bit of balance, have some Intel, have some AMD, for the kind of longevity of the channel, really, at the moment, we've got to concentrate on AMD, because Intel seem to be shooting themselves in the foot at every opportunity, which is really sad. But I guess that is where it is. So kind of that's where we're at today with what we're doing in this video. And it does actually strongly correlate to what is my own personal experience. Now, for those of you that have been with us for a while, you'll know that probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago, possibly even longer, we built the £600 Intel PC, the gaming PC, in the Montech 903 Air case. And I've got to be honest with you, it's a really nice little PC. It does everything that you need it to. It's a great price. I think it looks good. It's got all the extra features, USB Type-C, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all that kind of stuff. Loads of potential expandability or upgradability, although the upgrade path for the 12th gen processor, which is currently on it, up to a 13th and 14th gen processor, is looking scarier and scarier as time goes by. And due to Intel's inactivity of fixing or rooting out what the problem is with this particular desktop processor set, it just makes things worse. So there's speculation, there's guesswork, there are warranty issues potentially. Who really would want to buy an Intel platform at this current time when there's so much negativity in the media? Even though it doesn't really seem to affect 12th gen parts, it has that knock-on effect of the kind of the Intel brand being that overall umbrella. It's a negative thing. And the PC that I've got, it's been on Facebook Marketplace now for at least 4 weeks, I think it is. And there has been probably, I'd be guessing if I said 6 or 7 people that have shown interest. And of which some of those are the obvious kind of spam, well, the ones that are just trying to basically steal your PC. So yeah, it's not a good thing. So tonight's stream, we will be saying goodbye to the Intel 12400F and also the B760 motherboard, and we'll be replacing it, rest in peace, Pro B760P Wi-Fi DDR4. You had a brave attempt. And your little processor. But these are going because we got some bargains from AliExpress and they've actually finally turned up, and I've tested them and they work, which is obviously a good thing. So we've got a ASROCK B550 Pro 4 motherboard, and also we've got a Ryzen 5 5600 processor to replace these two main components. And I'm hoping then the PC is going to be somewhat more saleable and best of all, we will be able to reduce the price because we've had significant savings on both the processor and the motherboard. So we should be able to knock off, I don't know, 50 to 100 pounds off the overall price, making this somewhat more attractive to potential buyers, or at least that's the theory. There are going to be some slight caveats and gotchas on this, which I've been thinking about how I address, or even if I address them, but we'll come to that when we start doing the build a little bit later on in the stream tonight. But for now, sorry, Kath's freezing. I'm boiling. Kath sat right next to the window. The window's there behind the camera, and I'm trying to get some cool air in to cool me down because it does get quite warm. But Kath's sat right there and she's getting like the lion's share of the breeze. She's had to put a hoodie on because she's freezing now. Ah, dear. Anyway, so yeah, we'll get around to that a little bit later on. We'll say hello to some of you in the chat and acknowledge some of the super chats, which some of you kind people have already done. So that is, yeah, excellent stuff. Good start. So in the chat tonight, we've got a rally. We've got Irie Wolfman. We've also got In a Weird Accent. Irie Wolfman actually received his keyboard, the Keychron K3 Max, which was won in the giveaway we did. I was thinking, was it a live stream or was it a giveaway? It was a giveaway. Yeah, we did it in a giveaway. So he's finally got that. That's turned up, so that is excellent. And he seems very pleased with it, so that is excellent. And actually, while we're quickly saying about that, I was really impressed with the Keychron keyboards. So I've actually gone out and got another one. You guys all know what I'm like. I do like the full-size keyboards. I like to have a number pad. I like the extra keys, the buttons, the gadgets, all that stuff. Small keyboards are cool. They look great, and for the kind of TikTokers and those Facebook posts, yeah, they look really good. But in terms of actually getting work done, especially when you're doing spreadsheets, calculations, all that kind of stuff, come on, you cannot beat a full-size keyboard. So I've got the Keychron K10 Pro. This is the new upgraded version. Full-size keyboard. You've got I think, yeah, dual compatibility, so there's Mac. It actually comes set up for Macs, weirdly. Open source firmware, you can use it wireless or wired. I don't think this has got 2.4 gigahertz. I think this is only Bluetooth and wired. I need to check. I think the Max version is the one that has both. The Pro doesn't. But I generally use either wired connection or, like I'm using now, I'd use Bluetooth. It's a lot easier. And also, it doesn't drain the battery as quick, which is excellent. You can pair 3 devices, got screw-in stabilizer, so you can change those. 4,000 mAh battery, 4 weeks use with the backlight disabled, so yeah, a month is great battery life. You've got lighting effects, and you've got sound absorbing foam and all that kind of stuff. So we might take a little bit look at that a little bit later if anyone is interested in potentially picking up a keyboard. You can actually get Keychron stuff from our Discord or from any of the video links. We've actually got a discount code, so you can use, I think the discount code is Mike5. So if you're interested in any Keychron stuff, for Keychron UK that is, we do have a perpetual, or is that what word, perpetual? When it goes on forever? Perpetual. Constant. Always. There's basically the code is always available. Now there's some items that if they're on sale already, you won't get the discount possibly, but you can try it.
You right, Dave?
Dave's down. We have a man down. Anyway, let's carry on. So we've got Matthew Day says NVIDIA GPU for the win. An NVIDIA GPU would be nice in this little PC, but I don't think the budget is going to quite stretch to it. In a Weird Accent says, I think this will deter buyers. Intel 13th, 14th gen, haha. Patrick DeBell says, hi, not the time to buy an Intel GPU. Sorry, Intel CPU. Maybe Intel stock if things settle. And there is another super chat come in from, wow, Colin Hilton sent us £40 via PayPal. Thank you very much, Colin. Much appreciated. That is very generous of you. Thank you very much. Did he have a message in there as well? Nope, just says donation. Well, thank you very much, Colin. Colin is been out on the golf course, getting around a bit. Good to see. Colin, 80 years old, still being able to get out there and play 18 holes. I'd be lucky to do one. I really would. But well done, Colin, and thank you for your super chat. It is much appreciated.
Should we do the others while we're there?
Let's do the others while we're there. Hang on, let me find them. Do some scrolling. So we've got Mick Woods. That was one that starts off. kicked off this evening. So £10 from Mick Woods there. Says, good evening all. How you doing, Mick? Thank you for your super chat. Hopefully you're well. And Rick H there with his disco with $5. Thank you very much, Rick H. Much appreciated. Good to see you in the chat as well. I think that was it. Was there another one?
No.
Did I miss one? No, I didn't. Lots of you in the comments and chatting away. Good to see. Thank you all for joining us. Nick Barnes. Even Mike Cath and Mothers. Most people won't be aware of Intel woes, so it would be fair to say the market is dead due to holidays or simply the cost of living. It doesn't help, I know, sadly. That is, yeah. There does seem to be. It used to be probably only a few years ago. If you tried to sell an Intel system, even if it was an older one, like a 9900K or 9700K, even some of the 8000s, 8000 series as well, those would sell really easily, and sometimes they still do. So like get an old Intel 9900K system with maybe like a 2060 in it, or 1660 Ti or 1660 Super, that sort of thing. People are still asking like silly money for them, but I don't know what it is. Just at the moment, Intel 12th gen, for me, it's been a real sticking point. There has been a few that we've sold, but it's never been particularly easy, which is a real shame. Anyway, yeah, I think there is a lot to be said about it. It is the school holidays at the moment. It's been not particularly a great year in terms of the cost of living. It hasn't got much better, although the media would say it has, but I think inflation is still incredibly high despite what they're actually reporting, which is, yeah, it's not a great look. So people are going on holidays, they're not really thinking about computers. It's summertime after all, always a quiet time anyway. And with all this going on, things getting more expensive. We've now got a Labour government come in, which are already starting to kind of signify that we will be getting some tax increases very shortly. We've already lost the winter tax payments for some people on disabilities possibly. So yeah, it looks like the bootstraps are being tightened. So yeah, it's not good all round in terms of the economy at the moment. There was another super chat come in then from, I believe that was O'Reilly. Thank you, O'Reilly. O'Reilly has put in £10 there. It says, listening to the stream on my iPad. Oh, sorry your PC's not working. Sad times. We'll see. Not sure why my desktop is being weird. Official YouTube app on my iPad is not having any issues though. Oh, thank you very much. Roderick says, my grandson has a 8700 non-K with a 1660 Super. He loves it. It's a really good combo if you get it for the right money. People are still asking way too much for it at the moment. Let's go through and quickly say hello to a few more of you in the chat, and then we will get started. Of course, if you've got any comments or questions, feel free to put them in the comment section. I will get around to them eventually.
Or keep putting them.
Or just keep putting them, yeah. Don't spam it.
But if we've gone past it and we haven't mentioned it.
Nick Barnes, that is the market one, sorry, yeah. O'Reilly says, Mike, if you still have trouble selling the Intel parts after tonight's AMD upgrade, give me a DM on Discord and I'll give some serious thought to buying them off you. Thank you, O'Reilly. Much appreciated. Mark Berry's been painting indoors today. Had to go back to the dentist. Wisdom tooth needs to come out. It's infected, so another 5-day antibiotics. Oof, dear. Reading through the chat. Sorry for the dead air there. John David Sullivan says, evening all. Rick H is in the house. We've said that one. Aletta. Everyone get down on your knees and raise your hands to the sky. Aletta is in the building.
I think she's had her other leg done.
She's had her other knee done?
I think, but I couldn't see it in there.
I think I did read something about that. I was quickly flicking through, yeah.
I could guess, but...
Rick Welly Bob says, evening summer mothers. Yes, summer is kind of upon us. It's been a weird week, really. We've had a couple of really nice days. I'm starting to get a little bit darker now. So that's always a good sign that the weather is okay, because I'm actually venturing outside. But yesterday, I think, was it yesterday we had rain? A little bit of rain. We've got some little bits of rain on and off. A little bit cloudy. It's not been too bad. Today was actually quite nice, but it's clouded over a little bit now. But yeah.
It was very windy today.
Still not really summer. More like a warm spring. Getting there. Rasher's teaching his daughter to drive. I am dreading teaching Angel to drive. I think she'll probably be okay.
Why would you learn her?
Why would I?
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't. But she's almost there anyway, isn't she?
Yeah. Alessa says her second knee hurts a hell of a lot more than the first, so I'm high as a kite on painkillers. Go for it. If you can hear the noise in the background, that is, there's a local cricket club and they've got some sort of festival thing going on. So my apologies if you can't hear it. You shouldn't be able to. Zero Defects is with us. Last Man Standing UK. Charles Ballard says, I have arrived. Let the pigeons loose. Let the children sing. As long as they're not singing at the Olympics. We're boycotting that. There's some weird stuff going on in the Olympics. I swear, since they did that Large Hadron Collider in 2012, the world has been very, very weird. Tinfoil hat stuff, I know, but yeah, the world was getting strange before that, but it's definitely very strange now. I sometimes I genuinely do wake up and I kind of pinch myself after listening to the news and think like, what is actually going on in the world? I'm sure I must have slept through something major that happened where everything changed and I missed it.
See, skipped timeline.
Yeah. There's another super chat come in there from Rasher. Bless you, Rasher. 20 euros there. It says, Indian Mike is in the house. Oh, yes. Very much so. I love that comment. Let's click on that one. There we go. Now, see, when people say Indian Mike, or I refer to myself as Indian Mike because I have somewhat of a tan, that isn't racist. That is more, well, would it be a racial I think that's racial appreciation rather than appropriation. I would love to be tanned all year round. I think people of colour, you like to say that? Is that the right terminology? I don't know. I'm not really bothered what it is. You know what I'm trying to say, but I actually envy people that have colour. I really genuinely do. I would love to have colour all year round and not be a pasty white person. That's my thoughts on it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. We're going off script. I better stop. Mark Berry says the UK is going into meltdown and Starmageddon has only been in for a month. I know. It's kind of nuts.
I don't think he's even been in that long, has he?
Mike P says, evening all. How you doing, Mike P? David Graham as well. Says, I hated the Olympic start. I'm a Christian. I was very insulted. I think you've got every grounds to be there. I didn't see it. I've only gone by what's been reported, so it's just hearsay. But from what I can gather, it wasn't a good thing.
We've used the tanning jabs before, don't worry.
Yeah, we have used tanning jabs, yeah.
When was that? That was back in
Hi mate,
2009,
just make yourself RGB. If I could, I would. Dan says, I'm half Native American. I love it as an adult, but as a child it was not fun. Okay. Duke Man says, I did not find it insulting at all. Good. What did you not find it insulting? My comment or the Olympics? Charles Ballard, Mike of Mike's Unboxing, an ordinary man in an ordinary town with an ordinary life. He thinks things have happened, but he doesn't know quite what. That sounds like the introduction of a film or a series.
But he's about to find out because this is the Twilight Zone.
The Twilight Zone, gotcha. Swap out the RGB with tanning bulbs. Good idea. Dukeman says, oh, the opening ceremony. I think the opening ceremony is one of those things, again, I haven't seen it myself, I'm only going what's been reported. But I think if you're someone who doesn't really take much notice of the symbolism in it, it's completely fine. But I think if you look at the, if you go back and watch the 2020, is it?
2012.
2012?
Yeah.
Is that the one with the beds?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at the 2012 Olympics, it's basically COVID, kind of the preamble to COVID. So it's a very weird thing. Could be coincidence. Who knows? I don't know. That's a question for other people, not me. I don't watch. G-Zone says I don't watch Olympics. I'll be honest with you, I haven't. The last time I actually watched and followed the Olympics, probably because other people did and I was at school, was probably when Daley Thompson was in the decathlon at the Olympics. I think that was probably maybe 84, maybe 86. I don't think it was 88. So it would have been early to mid 80s. I think it would have been most likely. Maybe even 88, possibly. I know I'd have still been of school age. But yeah, when Daley Thompson was in the Olympics doing the decathlon, that was the last time I really followed it with any kind of interest. Maybe actually, possibly sometime in the 90s when Eddie the Eagle. But that was the Winter Olympics, so that's a little bit different. But Eddie the Eagle, a hero, a true modern hero of our fantastic country. Oh dear, we are.
Ballard watched a movie reaction vid today and learned about Eddie the Eagle. Should watch his biography film. It's quite good.
The Eddie the Eagle biography is excellent.
I thought it was good.
I really enjoyed it.
But then I watched the Elton John one and it was the same bloke playing him, so it's like kept thinking it was Eddie the Eagle. It confused me.
Aletta says I use my number pad daily. I was at some point. Razer used to do. I think it was Razer. What was it? It might have been Ducky. Actually, I think it was Ducky. Ducky used to do a separate add-on number pad, which you could use, and you could obviously customize as well. Was it Razer or was it Ducky? I think it was Ducky. And for some instances, that would have been actually very cool. Having, I think a modular keyboard is actually a good idea as well, personally. I would quite like to have a modular keyboard where you could, if you wanted to, remove the number pad, possibly. But then you could just buy a smaller keyboard. And I guess it wouldn't be overly cheap. Anyway, let's move on. Dave Aiken says the 5700X 3D B550 rig I sold recently went very quickly. Yeah, I think that was the 5700X 3. Dave, how much did you ask for that system and what were the specs, if you don't mind me asking? I'm not too sure whether the graphics card is actually holding this one back as well. It's only an RX 6600, but the RX 6600 is kind of almost the same as a 2070, but I think if it was a 2070 in there, it would probably sell much quicker because 70 is better than 600 in this respect, and it's NVIDIA. Wayne Taylor says Intel just thinks it's too big to fail. No one's too big these days. I don't know, because if you think about the bigger picture, Intel and AMD and NVIDIA and Apple and basically all the big companies, Coca-Cola, etc., they're all owned by the 5 to 10 big companies that basically own everything. BlackRock, Stateside, Vanguard, I can't think what the other, there's a couple of other ones, but basically they own the large shares of all those companies. So they don't really care who wins or loses because ultimately they have shares in them all. So it's like going to the blackjack table and buying all the numbers. You don't really care what number comes in on the roulette wheel. It makes no difference at all because whatever number comes in, you are going to win in one way, shape or form. And that is where they're at. So Intel, in theory, could disappear off the face of the planet, and for the investment companies it wouldn't matter because people would switch their investments or switch their buying power to the other available brands which they also own. So for them it doesn't really make any difference. Shareholders would be the ones that are probably most affected, the kind of the smaller time shareholders, or the people like you and I that possibly have got a little bit of a kind of a pension pot going, so you've got a couple of shares maybe that you buy just because they are going to grow slowly over the time. So probably maybe you got some gold, maybe you got some silver, that sort of stuff. Those kind of longer term investments which you can hold on to, and they're relatively bankable and don't really fluctuate too much, or at least if you hold on to them long enough, they kind of stabilize or get to a point where they're worth trading in. Going off topic a little bit there again. Aletta says, I prefer wired mouse and keyboard. I'll be honest with you, I always would prefer a wired keyboard and mouse. But having said that, I've switched over on my main video editing rig over there to the Asus Strix ROG Impact 3 mouse, which is wireless and doesn't actually have an option for a wire. It's completely wireless. And it uses a single AA or AAA battery, and it lasts for ages. And I don't even bother turning it off now. I used to be really terrible about battery anxiety, and I'd like, at the end of every day, if I was using a wireless device, I'd make sure I physically turned off the power button so it didn't go flat. But it's been really good. I just don't care anymore. I just use it, turn the PC off, go to bed, do whatever, come in the morning. The mouse is still on and waiting, and it just seems to last. So, and also my gameplay hasn't been affected, although I'm not brilliant, but it's been a good mouse. I've been happy with it. I didn't think I would ever say that about a wireless mouse, but that one is particularly good. I like it a lot. Michael T, thank you very much for gifting 5 Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How-To memberships. One has gone to Matthew Day, another one has gone to David Aiken. Also, Dan was gifted a membership by Michael T. G Zone was also gifted a membership by Michael T. And Jay Gordon was also gifted a membership by Michael T. And Michael says, howdy all. How you doing, Michael T? Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Danny D says, wireless is the way now. I think it has its place, definitely. It's not the old kind of unreliable technology it used to be. I think as battery technology has got better, it has become a much more viable alternative. I don't know whether I would use it full time, and actually this particular mouse and this keyboard, both of which as you can see are wireless. This one, which is my Endgame Gear XM2 WE, that one is basically always plugged in behind me, other than on a Saturday when I'm doing this. The keyboard exactly the same. This is the Ducky 0, the 6108. I love this keyboard, I really do like this keyboard. The feel of these switches, if you haven't tried them already, try and get yourself some of the new Cherry MX2 switches. They are very, very nice. And I'm considering with my Keychron keyboards, because the Keychron keyboards don't come with Cherry switches. You might have an option in some places, but generally they're going to be either Keychron's own or Gateron. I think I prefer the new MX2s. So I might buy another set of these MX2 switches and put them in my Keychron keyboard. I think that would make a massive difference. Not that the Gatrons are bad, but the MX2s are really the new gold standard for keyboard switches, I think personally. Although having said that, I'm not an expert on keyboard switches. All I know is what I like. Kenny D says, the tech in wireless peripherals is so good now, you don't have to worry about latency. Most people in the pro gaming scene have all switched to wireless. I think it's done, yeah, I think it's done really well. The wireless technology is significantly better, as long as you've got your antennas plugged in. I did find with a lot of motherboards now, especially ones with onboard Wi-Fi and onboard Bluetooth, if you're trying to connect to the onboard Bluetooth and for some reason you've not attached your antenna, then it's very unlikely that it's going to have any range whatsoever. And in fact, I was trying to use the keyboard on Bluetooth, literally there, the computer is there, and because I didn't have the antennas connected, the Bluetooth just would not connect. It would see it, but it wouldn't exchange data, so I couldn't actually get it to, you know, like latch on, or what's the word I'm looking for? Pair. William Bodie says Cherry MX are not that good. No, the original MXs they're fine, but they're not brilliant. But the MX2s, completely different ball game altogether. Dan says I have the ADX keyboard from Curry's. It's actually decent. Yeah, we had that a while back. I think Ugly Bob gifted us one of those ages and ages ago.
Where is Ugly Bob?
And where is Ugly Bob? Speaking of that, He's hiding out in the deepest, darkest woodland areas.
Again.
Probably in his his budgie smugglers and wellies.
Don't forget his ice lolly.
With a nice lolly. Question, will you try Kale Pink? They even make them as Silent Pink. I might do. I'm tempted to actually get one of those cherry testing decks. You can get like a little, like a box, I guess it is, like a, I suppose 3D printed effectively, with various switches in, so you can put your various switches in. The thing is with switches as well, a lot of it actually does come down to the keycap as well, because just by changing out the keycaps on a keyboard, it can totally change the sound and the feel of the keys. It really does. I noticed that with the cheapo AliExpress keycaps I bought. Even though they're allegedly PBT, because they were put-in style, they just feel completely different from like these ones here, which are like decent thick ones. I think it's because they use slightly thinner plastic. The keycaps will make a difference. So if you're going to try and see which is the best sounding, you're going to have to probably change your keycaps and your switches and try and work out which one kind of does the best. You get a much more kind of a solid feel, I think, from the PBT keycaps. They seem to be a bit thicker. Whether they take up more room as well, I'm not entirely sure. And I noticed the Razer keycap set that I got, which I put on my Asus keyboard, that changed the sound of them again. So the Asus keyboard went from a more thocky sound to a slightly higher pitched, almost like a click, even though they're not clicky switches. It had a definite sort of like a more of a ping to it than a thock, if that makes any sense. Although my hearing isn't particularly great because I'm old, so there you go. So let's have a look through the chat there, see if there's any other questions I've missed or comments. Rick H says, back in the day, AMD almost went under. Yeah, if it wasn't for the console market, they probably would have either been bought up or... I don't know if they would have actually got bought up. I think, if anything, because Intel wouldn't have bought AMD, because then the Monopolies and Mergers Commission would have come on and said, no, you can't do that. Like the two biggest, or in the top 5 biggest manufacturing of CPUs on the planet, for you to own one and then possibly the second or third or fifth largest one, I don't think that would have happened. So I think it got to the point where, like with Microsoft knew that when Apple was going through hardship and they were basically on death's door, Microsoft knew that they had to have Apple to be like some form of competition. Now, I guess in hindsight, they probably wouldn't have wanted Apple to do quite as well as they have done, especially with products such as the iPhone, which completely obliterated the Windows handheld market, and also, what was it? Oh God, what was the portable device? iPod. Yeah, iPod. Yeah, the iPod, that obviously killed the Zune and MP3 players off completely because it was a significantly better device. In terms of the actual usability and functionality of it, I suppose. Accessibility is probably not as good because obviously the closed ecosystem that was at the time iTunes wasn't great, but yeah, it had a lot of things going for it. Yeah, so Microsoft had to, I think they bought 20% of Apple at one point and basically rescued them. And at the same time, or similar time, I think that's when they then included Internet Explorer for a long time with Apple devices. And also they then ported over the Office suite and lots of other Microsoft-only software to Apple devices after they'd bought 20% of the company, because obviously it made a lot of sense.
Bike Man.
Where's that?
A bit off topic, but not that long yet.
Bikeman 17. Anyone ever had an issue with Acronis True Image, formerly CyberProtect, where it says at the end of the backup, last backup has stopped, restarting at blah blah blah, then restarts and eventually fails? No. You might find, if True Image uses the Windows Shadow Volume copy, you might find that your system restore size is too small. In which case, if you expand the size of your system restore cache, or whatever they call it, if it's maybe 5%, change it to 10%, just give that the shadow volume copy area more space, and it should be fine.
Discord if you're stuck.
Yeah, if you get stuck, you can check out our Discord, which I'll put a link in the video in the chat now. Alternatively, if you look at one of our videos which we did relatively recently, which was Synology Active Backup for Business error, I think it was, or just look on our channel for Synology Active Backup for Business, or Synology Backup. You should see it on there. It's basically how to fix it. It's the same principle. Just do that and you should be fine. It's more than likely down to the shadow volume size not being big enough. Shiny Helmet says, hello, good evening, reviewers and how-toers. Sorry, what was that, Kev?
Solar collar.
What, the last one?
Yeah.
Question, this is from Solar Holler, stroke Soulblade. Question, is a Ryzen 5 5500 to a Ryzen 5 5600X worth the upgrade? That's a tricky one. The 5500 is not a particularly good processor. There are a lot of cutbacks to that, which made it actually quite poor. So yeah, the 5600X would be better in general and would feel snappier and will benefit from things like a larger cache and PCI Express Gen 4 connectivity, and also the fact that it's an X variant, so higher TDP, so in theory it should be faster and clock higher. Whether or not it's worth the upgrade, I don't know. It depends how much you paid for the 5500 and also how much you can get for the 5500. So that's one of the key things. Otis is giving me the eye through the window. He actually went outside. Otis is getting better. He's been I don't know what, something's happened to him and he got very scared and he was basically hiding all day long, and he's still hiding quite a lot and he gets very spooked by things, but we've got the window open there and he's just nodded his head outside for a little bit.
Yeah.
That is Otis. He knows I'm talking about him. Otis, you come and say hello?
Do you want to say hello? Not yet.
No, maybe later?
Later? Do you want to say hello later?
Matthew Day says, I have a not drunk eBay ending in 8 minutes. Good luck. Sobley says, I'm in South Africa, so I'm sure I can get a good price for it. William Bodie says, Otis did see a monster big spider. I hope not. Our next door neighbour, they've got a garage and it's a flat roof garage, and where it curls round and like the whatever the top of the roof is, I think it's some sort of bitumen type layer, but where it meets round, it doesn't quite meet up with the what's that, pebble dash, is it? Yeah, pebble dash wall. And at night time, if you look along the entire range of there's just massive spiders all just like half hanging out, waiting to come out. Yeah, like a soffit joint, I suppose, like where your roof tiles would meet to the wall. And this is a long line of spiders, probably about, I don't know, probably about 12 to 14 foot, just a wall of spiders. And if I go up to the back of the garden to find one of the cats, I got the torch on, I shine the torch up and you can see all the spiders like just pull back a little bit. It's like, oh God, I don't like it.
But you don't kill them, no, you're good.
Rick says, AliExpress has come good for me on the last order, so I'm more inclined to use them again. Yeah, AliExpress, I think there's been some really good deals, and it seems they are doing kind of really good special offers almost every month now. Like they call it first day, I think it is, or they have all sorts of different sales on. But normally, around the beginning of the month, they have additional sales on, so different discount codes. Now we have actually got affiliate status with AliExpress now. So if there's anything from AliExpress you want, we can provide links to certain products. Not all of them, because it doesn't work across the world, depending where you are, what thing it is. But we have put some links in tonight's video for the ASROCK B550 Pro 4, which is actually a spectacular bargain at the moment. We paid about £60 plus taxes, which was about 65 all in. So 65 quid for a B550 Pro 4 motherboard. And it said it was used, but it looks like it's brand new. And in fact, let's take it out now, because that is part and parcel of what we are supposed to be doing tonight. If I'd shut up. Poor old Intel processor. So this actually works out a very potent combination. So we've got the B550 Pro 4 motherboard, about 65 quid. It is a little bit more expensive now because the discount codes aren't working currently, although you might still find them somewhere. It was classed as a used board, but it was basically everything was brand new. They've got the IO shield, which I have opened just to inspect it, but the IO shield is basically brand spanking new. I'm guessing the boards have been either... I honestly don't know what has happened to them. Whether or not they've come off the back of a very big lorry, I couldn't tell you. I don't think they have. Now, you don't get the most in terms of actual packaging, but the board itself, it looks brand new. Literally looks brand new. It's still got the little plastic covers over the M.2 pillars. The M.2 pillars were actually pre-installed and the screws put in. So yeah, that's all good. There doesn't appear to be a mark on the board anywhere. No scratches. If you look around things like the holes for the pillars, no scratches or scuffs there that you'd normally get if a board had been used. No signs of use on the socket at all. No kind of thermal paste or anything like that anywhere. If it has been used, it's been used very, very lightly. And if it's been refurbished, then they've done an absolutely spectacular job. I mean, like, spectacular. I can't tell the difference between this and a brand new board. I honestly can't. And it seems to work. I have tested it out already. It does work. I've done a BIOS flash on it and tested it with a 5700 X3D and also 5600 and also 3900X, and all of them seem to work absolutely fine. So no problems there. Downside of the Pro 4, it has an M.2 Wi-Fi key, but you can't use the one that I bought. I bought an AX211. Doesn't work. That's for Intel boards only. So I have to get an AX210 to go on there, or potentially I'll put something else on a PCI Express slot if I need to put Bluetooth and Wi-Fi on there, which I might need to. I'm not too sure. Also, it doesn't have USB Type-C support, which a lot of new cases now are coming with USB Type-C. So again, it's not really a deal breaker, but by the time I add a Wi-Fi card and also a USB Type-C card, each of those is going to be like 15 quid each, so that's another 30 quid, in which case is 90 quid, give or take. At which point I could have probably bought maybe a B550 board, maybe a B550-A Wi-Fi with all that built in, which arguably might be a bit better. But it depends what it is you're after, I suppose. But yeah, it looks like it's in great condition. Not much in terms of I/O on this one. So you've only got 5 USB Type-A ports plus a Type-C on the back. Only HDMI, no display port. You've got VGA as well, a little bit of a kind of throwback when this came out. And the audio is a weird one. So the audio on this is the Realtek ALC 1200 or 1220, depending on which version is available at the time. So it's actually got really good onboard audio. The 1200 series is actually really good. Much better than the 800 series was by a lot. But bizarrely, they've chosen to only put 3 jacks on there. No speed diff or anything. So if you did want to do any kind of analog multi-channel audio, you're going to struggle because you've only got 3 ports.
Did you see that AJ Fabricant? Did it come with a CR2032?
It didn't come with the CR2032. No, that is something I've added myself using a GP CR2032. Which has been, yeah. They did state on AliExpress, and they do that on quite a lot of things now. They're not, if a battery is removable, they're not supposed to send it with a battery because of the shipping. Which seems actually really bizarre to me, because obviously a lot of this stuff, when it comes from AliExpress, comes from like mainland China, places that are notorious for not always following the letter of the law. So yeah, it's strange that they would not put a battery in, but yet possibly they'll completely circumvent copyright law and all that stuff. But anyway, so yeah, it's a nice little board. This is revision 1.02. It doesn't seem to make any difference because I looked on the website and the BIOSes are all the same for all the versions. So the version number or the revision number doesn't seem to make any difference whatsoever. So anyway, that's the motherboard. Roughly about £65 when I bought it. I think at the moment with taxes it's probably getting on for 70, 75. So maybe not an ideal time to buy if you are considering it. What was the other thing? Oh, processor. So processor wise, I've been stocking up on AM4s. 3200G, 20 quid. That was, I don't know if that was a foolish purchase or not, but it's actually quite handy to have. I got this one from AliExpress as well. This is linked in the video description. This is the the normal 5600, not the X variant. This one I think was also about £60-ish, 65 maybe. Or was it 70? I'm not too sure, I'm getting confused now. I think the motherboard and the processor together was somewhere in the region of about £120, £130. Which for a 5600 and a B550 motherboard, that's a really killer combo. And if you take into account that what it's replacing, which was the 12400F and the Pro P Wi-Fi, this board I think was about £100. The CPU was about 85, normally 100. So like a £200 combo against about 120, 130 pounds combo. Yes, this has got Type C. Yes, it has got BIOS flashback, all that other stuff. But locked processor against unlocked processor, which you can tweak to your heart's content. So roughly about £50 cheaper. So I should be able to, in theory, sell the PC for about £50 cheaper as well. And it ideally might be a bit more saleable with an AMD processor. Of course, if I then go ahead and put the USB-C card in and also add a Wi-Fi card at 15 quid each, that's 30 quid. So it's kind of getting to be almost a like for like swap. But again, it's going to be AMD, so hopefully it's going to be a bit nicer. Also picked up this one, the 5700X 3D, again from AliExpress. This I think was about 135 when I bought it. I need to check the prices, but somewhere around that. Again, links are in the video description if you want to pick one up. They're not the best prices at the moment, unless you get some discount codes. But if you get the discount codes, you can. This I think at the moment is about 140. Then you're going to pay a bit of tax on that, so maybe about 150. With the discount code of 10, 15, 20% brings it back down to about 130 again. So most of the time now, the AliExpress discount codes essentially just take off the taxes or the VAT. So if you're spending like £100, you're going to spend another 20 quid on VAT. So you can use your discount code, it takes it back down to £100. If you're buying from AliExpress and you're buying something over £130 or 135, I think it might be now, it's down to the seller to declare the tax and customs. So they don't charge you the VAT as you check out. Whereas if it's under £135, then they automatically add on the taxes because it's deducted at source. So that takes the guesswork out of it because you're paying all the money up front, including your taxes and import duty, all that kind of stuff. If you're going over this amount, then kind of your life is in your own hands. You may end up with a customs bill when it arrives. If you do get a customs bill when it arrives, you will also likely get a handling charge. Now, depending on who it's coming from, if it's somewhere like Royal Mail, Parcel Force, probably about £8 to £12 extra fee on top for them having to collect the customs charge and process it. So do bear these things in mind. Potentially you can get some really good bargains on AliExpress.
Toog puts them on our Discord.
Yeah, Toog puts loads of them on our Discord, as do we. Again, link for the Discord is in the chat, hopefully. So go into the bargains no chat room and you'll see plenty of potential bargains and deals posted there. So the next question is, do I risk it and put the 5700X 3D in there and bump up the price significantly? Or do I wing it for now and just put the 5600 in and test the market? Or perhaps put the 5600 in and offer the upgrade to a 5700X 3D for a reasonable price? I am unsure what to do. I was thinking I'd like to put the 57X3D in there, but I think then paired with the graphics card that's in there, it doesn't make as much sense. So you'd have a strong processor but a weak graphics card effectively. Whereas this, I think, works better with the RX 6600. But anyway, let me know what you think. Shanto Daz says, put 5600 in and offer the 57X 3D for a reasonable price. I think you're, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. So we've got the overhead camera on now. So let's, we'll stick the processor in the board. We can get that done. So lift the arm up. Ryzen writing, matching up with the socket writing on the top there. A little bit of pressure and down with the lever, and that is that part done. Nice and easy. So, what should we do next? I think we should start taking apart the other PC now. So let me get that up on the table and we'll start stripping that down. And I'll try and keep an eye on the chat, and I might have to go and get myself a drink. Oh, luckily I've got one here. Somebody said actually, in one of the videos a couple of days ago, can you see that? I don't want to tip it over. So yeah, someone said about that, joke for the day. I think it might, it's either William Bodie or James, was it James? Might have been James, one of the James brothers. Dad, a man with photos in his wallet where the money used to be. I said I was actually drinking out of a cup. It said that on it. So if you're watching, whoever said it, I think it was James. Let's get rid of those processors out of the way because don't need those anymore. Oh, nearly dropped stuff. Oh, talking of which, talking of bargains, we grab a bargain. Oh, where's it gone? Hey, Davey. Sorry. Got these today, reduced to clear. Couldn't resist it. Cadbury's Dairy Milk buttons, yogurt, mousse thing. Reduced down to 20p. Happy days. Dairy Milk buttons. I'm off the sugar really, but when you see that for 20p, you got to treat yourself. As they say, you only live once. Well, unless you're a Buddhist. Just realised I've still got the chat box up at the top, haven't I? Let's clear that off. Right, I'm going to move this motherboard across. Get out of the way and let's get this PC up. Oh god, blimey, that's heavy. And actually, I'll take the side panel off and then we'll put the other camera on so you can see it. Viali says, tipping a cup near a motherboard. That's alright, we've got house insurance. So there we go, back to the main camera. So we can see what we've got here. Well, it's very dark, isn't it? Very blacked out. So we've got the Silentium Fortis 5 CPU cooler, an absolute beast of a cooler. We've got the Montec Air 903 case, Max. Motherboard, all that stuff, you've seen all that before, so.
Did you get that Mousepad on? What's that, Temu?
No, the Mousepad comes from William Bodie. Thank you, William Bodie. Again. Ah, and actually, I know something else which I can take out of this PC because that's what I wanted to take out to make the price even better. So in here, we've got the Lexar Aries RAM. And I actually really like that RAM. So I'm going to keep hold of that. And I'm going to put in there some Clev Kraz X because that was also cheaper. This Lexar cost me a pretty penny. That was about 50 quid, I think, at the time when I bought it. And I think it's actually, yeah, 16 gigs of 5600. So we'll take that out. We've also got a Fitquat FN 950 M.2 drive in there. That's a nice drive.
William Bodie asked what did he do.
Sorry?
William Bodie asked what did he do.
What did he do? Sent us that mouse mat. So when it comes to selling PCs like this, you're kind of looking at every possible angle of where you can save a few quid and where it actually makes sense to do so. So for this instance, obviously saving the RAM I've got is still 16 gigs, still RGB, and actually the same spec as well, but it actually physically cost me less because this is from the Amazon sale. I think this was like 36 quid, so that's about 10 to 15 pounds cheaper than I paid for the Lexar. So again, potentially a little bit more saving, so we can reduce the price of the PC, or at least haggle somewhat.
Windows says, I like the PC, I'm wondering what Windows does it run?
It runs, well, at the moment it's Windows 11. But I suppose, like most things, it can be changed to whatever is necessary. So I'm going to take out all of these bits out of the motherboard box because I'm going to need that shortly. It's really just break my heart actually taking this out, because this was a lot of hard work to put together. Well, not hard work, but you know, it's like time and effort. And that CPU cooler is a bit of a pain.
Is it worth what it costs to get, or what it costs to replace it?
Sorry, I don't really understand that.
Happy day. Maybe that was somebody else, to somebody else.
Do I need to put some more light on that? I might do. Let's spin that around a bit. Is that a bit brighter? Not sure if it is or not.
Can you return the Intel parts, or have Windows to return pass?
I could. Yeah, actually, no, I don't think I could. I think the time has gone. It's been a little bit too long. It's probably not that far off. If you look at when I did the review for the B760, what was it? The Pro B760p Wi-Fi. You'll see when it was. That's what the review date of the video is, probably the same as the purchase date. This is very sad. Dan Marr, how you doing? So people don't believe the problems are only with 13th and 14th. So people don't, I don't know actually. I think there's a lot of confusion and a lot of speculation, and until Intel actually come out and actually kind of say, right, this is what the problem is specifically, these are what processors can be affected, and all that kind of stuff, I think it is going to be very much a kind of like a bit of guesswork, isn't it? It's like you never know. I'm trying to think of another thing or another product which has had a similar sort of thing recently, where there's been an issue with one thing, and because of that kind of tarnish in the brand, it's affected all of them. I guess Volkswagen were probably one of the ones which have suffered recently, where they had the diesel thing, where they were saying that the diesel emissions were something they weren't. And yeah, that affected all of their cars in terms of sales. Let's see if we can get this M.2 drive out while we're here. And typically I'm just thinking, I bet someone is saying, Mike, why don't you use your head torch? And there's actually a good reason, because I've yet again forgot to charge the bloody thing. I am always forgetting to charge things up, aren't I?
Yep.
I am murder. If it's not the microphones, it's the bloody torches. And if it's not the torches, it's something else. There's our thick drive, the FN950. That's a nice drive. Actually, you can see there's oil come out of that already from the heatsink. Oh balls! Where did that go? Just lost a screw then for the M.2 shield. I suppose I can put that straight back on anyway. PC Gamer 77 says, hi all, how you doing? Hashtag Windows. Do you work for Microsoft?
No,
Windows 12 is coming. I can leak some things. What, like it's going to be rubbish?
No, go down a bit. Copilot is not going to be preview anymore on Windows 12.
Copilot isn't preview now. Copilot is a full-blown app now. You can actually uninstall Copilot from add remove programs as of now. It's no longer in the pre-state. Which I think has actually snuck by quite a lot of people. Now, do you think that air cooling is the way forward for this? Or not? I'm a little bit unsure. Carl G. Carl G. Even Mike, best thing I ever did stumbling across your channel. Thank you very much. Great content, mate. Just wondering, is that a Bristolian twang I hear there, or am I completely off the mark? Nope, you are completely on the mark, Carl. I am very much a Bristolian. As is my beautiful wife, Catherine. She is also Bristolian. We are very much Bristolians. Like us or hate us, that's what we are. And thank you for the kind words. In fact, actually, this week has been an incredible week for the channel. It really has. Some of you may have noticed on Monday or Tuesday, I'm not sure which day it was actually, we released a video on how to find and how to like recover your Windows license key from your computer. Now, most of our videos on a daily basis will get somewhere in the region of about somewhere around about 800 to 1500 views, depending what it is and how popular it is. That particular video, currently I think at the time of now, or last looking, is somewhere around the 20,000 views. So it had about 20 times the normal traffic that we normally see on the channel for some reason. 23.1 thousand views currently. So arguably it is one of our best videos ever for the early couple of days. Carl G says, so from one Bristolian to another. Excellent stuff. So yeah, this the video this week did spectacularly well. So we didn't bother releasing one because we weren't sure if YouTube were actually promoting the video, and obviously when that happens you don't want to interfere with what YouTube are trying to do by releasing another video. So we let it ride, and yeah, the videos, the numbers were just going up and up and up, and it was like, oh my god, we've had even more views, what's going on? Something's not right. And so yeah, it was for us, it's been a very, very cool week. We enjoyed it a lot. Now for this bit here, I think this is a 5mm. No, lying to myself. Is it a 6mm? Yes, 6mm on this one. Yeah, so it's been a mad week in terms of the views. We've had a lot of new subscribers as well, which is always like for a channel which has been going for what, 7 years, I think it is now. 2017. Yeah, it's arguably 7 years, isn't it? Thereabouts. 6 or 7 years we've been going for. So normally by that time, you normally see your viewership just tailing off a little bit because you've kind of grown and you get to a point where you don't really grow much further. But for some reason, yeah, this week it's just been phenomenal. It really has. So thank you to anyone who's new and just found the channel. It's been rather emotional this week. Windows 12 is going to be introduced September the 1st. Well, I'm kind of looking forward to that. It would be nice to have something new to discuss and to talk about. Windows 11 has obviously not done that well in terms of market share. Windows 10 is still significantly in front in terms of total users. So yeah, I think it'd be nice to see what Windows 12 is all about, just to kind of get around the speculation. The thoughts are that it's just going to be an absolute AI fest with lots more Copilot, lots more of that usual Microsoft BS where you have to have a Microsoft account and you've got to sign into this, you've got to sign into that. And it's all a pain. Now actually, for those of you that are watching and still not drunk, if you want to make your Windows 11 experience feel much more like Windows 10 did, I would strongly suggest you go and take a look at XD Anti-Spy, which is an absolutely incredible program. I've been using it the last couple of weeks and it has absolutely transformed my PC. It really has. I've done a video on it. Some of you who are patrons would have possibly seen it already this week. For those of you that haven't, your members will get it very shortly, or reasonably soon. I strongly suggest you take a look at it. XP Anti-Spy has made Windows a significantly more enjoyable experience, and any of the little quirks that I was having with my PC previously are now almost 100% gone. So definitely XP Anti-Spy, worth taking a look at. It's not the easiest of things to install, but it is a very small program and you need to run it once. Yes, Kath?
William says in June he did share all mother videos I came across.
Thank you very much for sharing the videos. You guys who do this and comment on a daily basis, honestly, we really do appreciate what you're doing for us. Genuinely do. I know a lot of YouTubers just say it, but it's actually true. We do mean it.
Rick says he used it thanks to you. Reason.
Oh shit. Reason?
Yeah.
Oh, a user called Reason. I thought you wanted the reason why I used XP Anti-Spy. Well, I'm going to put the IO shield in. The IO shield is a little bit weird.
What graphics card are you using PC Game Awards today?
PC graphics card. This is the
PC
graphics card gamer, whatever. This is the Asus Radeon RX 6600 Dual Edition, which is also quite cheap as well. Everything in this PC is just like budget stuff. It's really good. I'm a big fan of budget stuff. Sorry, what was the question? Reason, I can't see it. Where? Oh, hello, I saw your Asus TUF B650 Plus review. I would like to ask, would Asus TUF B650E work well with Ryzen 9 9700X? I'm worried about power phase and VRM. Reason, I honestly don't know. The 9900X is an unknown quantity yet. It looks like it's going to be using less power than the 7900X. So yeah, I don't think you're going to have any problems at all with that. Is my gut feeling on it. But until the reviews are out, I would be hesitant to make a specific statement one way or the other. Hopefully you understand that. Right, this motherboard actually has an additional pillar just here. So in the interest of full kind of, well, you know, doing it properly, I'm going to see if I've got another standoff in here and I'm going to install it. Just to do it right. Because that would annoy me if someone didn't. Captain White. Hardware Unbox released a video today. I think it showed that Windows 10 performance in games was measurably higher than Windows 10. I'll stick. The thing is, I watched that video as well, and yeah, I did see that. I watched the video, and something that they didn't do, which I think they should have done, is they actually turned off the memory protection on both systems, which I feel is probably the worst thing you could do, especially for the majority of gamers who, I would argue, there's a large amount of gamers who download dodgy, cracked versions of games and patches and what have you, and add-ons and all that sort of stuff. And to actually recommend, or he didn't recommend actually, he said that's what he does on his own system. But to turn off the memory protection, I think is actually quite a bad idea. And I would have liked to have seen him do it with the memory protection enabled on both of the machines, just to get an idea of if you actually want a secure machine, is Windows 10 and Windows 11 comparable in terms of how they perform? Because most people want to run things like antivirus or anti-spyware, and I would not dream to turn off core protection on my PC just because I'm going to get an extra 5% on my games. That just seems ludicrous. But yeah, it was an interesting video, and it does make some sense because obviously Windows 10 is its predecessor. It's lighter weight, and if you do the same thing with Windows 7 back in the day, Windows 7 was faster than Windows 10. Of course it would be, because there's less going on under the hood. Whether or not you want the features that are going on under the hood, whether you enjoy the look of the newer operating system, I guess that's down to the individual. But yeah, on average, what was it? 5% on the majority of games. A couple peaked at 10. Most of them were basically the same. So the fact that Windows 10 is coming to an end, you're not going to get any security updates for it. To get 5% faster in my games, but to potentially have to nuke it all anyway because of not having security, seems a little bit of a false economy. I don't know. I've been using Windows 11 since the day it came out, pretty much, and I've always liked it. And I suppose I'm fortunate that I've had relatively fast computers, so the extra 5 or 10% is somewhat irrelevant to me. And also, I don't play games that competitively. I just don't play them to play to enjoy them. So an extra 5% performance isn't really going to be a big deal for me personally. But if you want to grab every single frame out of your system, then it probably is worth taking a look at if you can stay on Windows 10. Again, I always liked Windows 10 as well. That was a really nice operating system. But I do feel Windows 11 is a more polished version of it. So yeah, I do expect it to run a little bit slower. I hate front panels connectors. Right, those are on. Always make sure you get your front panel connectors done in the right order. And you get your plus and minuses right on the LEDs, because they are diodes and they won't work the other way around. Sorry, I appreciate this isn't the best content for you guys at the moment, but we're getting there. So, oh, M.2 drive. Swaller holler. Anyway, guys and girls, have a good day. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you in the next one, hopefully. Let's get our M.2 drive installed. Gaming since 1981. I left Windows a long time ago and never looked back. That's interesting. What games do you actually play? Seeing you said you're gaming since 1981, what games are you playing now and what do you play them on? Let me know in the comments. Windows says, hey, Mike's Unboxing. Windows 12 is going to need 1 terabyte to support TPM 2.0 and Secure Boot. Is that a statement or a question? That sounds improbable.
Mark's Ghost says, I did a build in this. Did I put adverts in and drop your chat right down there? One tech case, and overall for the price it is a very good case, but the negative is the fans allowed.
I didn't find them that bad, but yeah, I suppose if you get them ramped up a bit, they will be. O'Reilly says it won't need 1 terabyte. No, I don't think it will. Windows says it was a question, just to know, and I meant it supports TPM2. Okay. Like I said, I am quite interested to see what Windows 12 is going to be about, and see how good or how different it is. I can't imagine it being dramatically different. Although, I think it would be nice if Microsoft did actually start thinking a little bit more about the user base and actually try and do something for the user base which the users actually want. Then I suppose gamers are a very, very small subsection of Windows users. The majority of Windows users are the workplace. The Windows desktop was never designed as a full-on gaming system. It was always designed as a workplace tool, and games basically were an add-on, as they kind of still are, really.
Gaming since 1981.
Currently I play Fallout London, Minecraft Dungeons and Flintlock. What do you play it on though?
Linux, I think they said.
That was what I was trying to get at. It's all well and good saying that you don't use, or you're off Windows, but what do you use instead of Windows? Because if there's some really cool thing, you're on Linux, okay. So what's that, using an emulation layer, or is that through Steam?
CatchOS.
Right, okay. I must admit, I've often looked at Linux as being a potential desktop replacement, but it just seems there's a little bit too much work involved to make it how I want it to be. And I do quite like the simplicity of Windows, to be honest with you. When you're putting your 24-pin power connection in, make sure that you push it all the way down. So if you look along the side, make sure that the plastic meets the plastic all the way along. I've had quite a few people recently who've had issues with their systems not turning on, and that has been most of the reason, to be honest.
Hey, Flamey.
I'm going to plug in our addressable RGB because that is at the top here.
Gaming since. And the one under.
Hang on, I'll have to come back to that now. Where is my CPU fans? Right, all of the chassis fans are down at the bottom. So I'm going to have to have a closer look at that in a minute. We'll turn the back round. Dutch Jan says, I'm going to put one PC on Linux. Uses Proton as I use Lutris as an easy way to get games going. Okay. So you are technically still using Windows, sort of. Reason says, if Microsoft is following trends, welcome to Windows AI. Yeah.
Mark's Ghost.
Carl G, I started my journey on the Specky. Yeah, I did. I had a Spectrum early doors. Then upgraded to Amiga. We had, what did we have? ST, didn't we? Atari ST.
Yeah.
Then skipped a 1200 and got a 386DX. Yep, same here. My 386DX was, I think, Windows 95.
Sounds weird, man.
It does, doesn't it? Sorry, what did you say?
Mark's Ghost. I think it was.
Mark's Ghost, have you found MSI power supplies to have cool wine? I've not had one. I have never had an MSI power supply. So I don't know. I would imagine they're, like everything, MSI makes a lot of things, and they're made in a lot of places, and they get a lot through the channel. So I don't think it would be unusual to hear that some of them wine. Power supplies are one of those things, especially nowadays with the frequencies and so many hertz flying through. It's coil wine is becoming more and more of a common thread, especially from graphics cards. especially at high refresh rates as well.
Gaines has just got in for a nice birthday meal.
Oh, happy birthday, Mark Gaines. Congratulations. Hope you enjoyed your meal. Good stuff. Carl G, and just to give you, and just reference I grew up in Hartcliffe back in the 80s. It's not true what they say, honest. Well, where do you live now, roughly? if you grew up in Hartcliffe in the 80s, are you still there? Is it true what they say? You can take the boy out of Hartcliffe. No, you can take. Oh, you know what I mean. Help me out, someone. Right, what's thermal paste we use? Let's use some Hydronaut on this. This was sent in by. Oh God, who is it sent the? Is it Rick H?
Rick H.
Rick H. It was Rick H, wasn't it? Thanks, Rick H. What is that in there? Oh, that's the spreader, isn't it? There we go. I might give that a spread. To be honest with you, this CPU cooler is so good it doesn't really need it. David Underhill says MSI uses the same OEM suppliers as Corsair for the PSUs. There you go. Now, I've actually found recently, I know a lot of you don't like it when I do the spread method. And
you do it for therapeutic reasons for yourself, don't you?
It is therapy, to be honest, yeah.
It's like your little Zen garden.
It is. So what I found now, actually doing the spread method, so I get a good coverage anyway, but then also do a tiny little blob in the middle. So that gives you the best of both worlds. So if there is any air bubbles or air pockets trapped in the thermal paste, because you've got a blob in the middle, that is then forcing it out, which then creates an even better layer. This, I think, is the best way of putting thermal paste on your PC. No doubt there will be lots of people in the comments going, "Roar!" And you're more than welcome to. Well, I'm going to see if I need any more bits for this cooler. I think I don't, actually. I think I've got all the stuff I need. There, AMD.
Ryzen asks, have you ever encountered coil wine from motherboard?
Yes. In fact, I've sent back a couple of motherboards over the years because of coil wine. There was a MSI B550 Unify. That had significant coil wine. That's right, it did, Flame.
You right, Flamey? You run out of food?
A letter comes in with the comment of the day. My girlfriend always likes it when I use the spread method. Ba-boom. William Bodie says, question, did anyone see how many full movies there are on YouTube? Even ones like Deadpool and Wolverine. You want about ones you can buy from the Google store? Reason says, thermal paste or thermal pad? I think they both have got their pros and cons. I personally, because I'm doing a lot of stuff and taking CPUs on and off, and also sometimes potentially working at odd angles, I don't like using thermal pads much, or especially the carbon fiber things, because they move around a bit too much. And quite often, like actually if I go back to the main camera, so if you look at the PC behind me now, if I'm working on this PC, I'll never move it, or very rarely do I ever move it. So I'll just undo the side door, undo the CPU cooler, do whatever I need to do, and then put it all back in. If I had a thermal pad, or one of those like mesh ones, it would just slide off and it'd be impossible to use. So for that, I would have to use paste unless I was able to lean it down every single time, which I'm not able to. So I prefer to use paste. And as a general rule of thumb, it's considerably cheaper and gives you sort of 95 to 98% of the performance. Carl G says, I live in the Colbert Heath area now. Left Hartcliffe around 98. Yes, you're right, mate. You can take the boy at Hartcliffe, but you can't take the Hartcliffe out the boy. I'd be a proper cliffer. Oh dear. Well, that's actually not, that's nice. Colbert Heath, that's a nice area. Or there are parts of Colbert Heath which are very nice. Overlooking the Mendips. As my, the footholes of the Mendips. Foxholes, footholes, whatever, yeah. Yeah, Colbert Heath's not a bad place. To be honest with you, there's parts of Hartcliffe which are like okay. Like anything, there's always going to be certain people in certain areas which just are, well, assholes. This Fortis 5 cooler is a weird one, and I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but the actual frame itself doesn't fit very well over the actual screw holes, which was a bit frustrating. Oh, William Bodie says no, uploaded by YouTubers. I didn't realise that. Most of the videos get taken down. I do actually quite fancy watching Deadpool versus Wolverine. Right, let's get these tightened up. Rasher says, I'm building a good library of 4K Blu-ray films. Feck that streaming of films. I used to have a really, really good collection of movies. Like, probably a good, I don't know, 700 to 1,000 movies. But it just takes up so much room. Physically. It does look nice on the shelves though. Well, VHS, DVD. JB27, how you doing, JB? Mike buying a Windows 10 key right now from the channel. Nice. I'll put the link in the description. There you go. Get in. Yeah, less than £3 at the moment for a Windows 10 license. Absolute insanity. Nice. This is something I do miss on AM4 systems, because at the moment with AM5 you have to really be considerate about the amount of pressure you're torquing down onto the CPU because of those LGA pins. Whereas with AM4 you basically know that there's not a lot you can do because the socket won't move anywhere. Good stuff. Rasher says, what's the point in having a state-of-the-art TV and sound system, then streaming movies? I know what you mean, actually. I do all this stuff about computers, the streams and the videos, and it ultimately comes down to the fact that I generally end up watching movies on a very small screen in a window somewhere on my PC, rather than having it like on a 4K screen dedicated somewhere. So yeah, I kind of know where you're coming from there. Darn spring clips. balls. Thought I had a cable pinch then, and I did. There we go, that's much better. Let's stick the graphics card in now. Although, I do have to look to see if I've got a PCI Express card that I can put in there to get some USB action for the front panel USB. I think I have got one. I don't really want to put it in, but I think I'm going to have to. So yeah, this is a USB Type-C connection. So I can route this USB Type-C down to this bottom corner. It doesn't really need it, but I guess if anything, it gives me a chance to maybe buy another PCI Express card at some point. Just to do another video on it. Hopefully by now the video's made at least a tenner or so that I can actually pay for this. Actually, the bracket looks almost identical to the PC, so that is nice.
Shut that nice freezing.
Yeah.
Too hot.
Yeah.
Still?
Yeah. It's alright, don't worry. Right, so now I need to route that cable through to the back. So let's take the back panel off now, and we'll take a quick look at that. I think if anything, this I/O shield on the back is not the best. So cable management wise, yeah, you can see I've probably not gone terribly overboard on that. And I need to take this cable down to the bottom to one of the fan headers on the motherboard. The thing that also annoys me about this is the fact that I'm going to have to do another fresh installation of Windows on this. Which I didn't want to have to do, really. But hey ho. So I'm going to take that in through the bottom. I think I must have known deep down in my heart of hearts that this PC was gonna change. Can I get the USB-C? Yes, I can. So the USB-C now is going to come along and come up through into this section. So I can probably cable manage that into there. Cable management doesn't have to be overly pretty. It's kind of nice if you can, but I don't think it's the end of the world if it's not achievable or you just can't be arsed. As long as it keeps it relatively in place, it's going to be absolutely fine. So that is that done. Let's flip that back over.
Gaming since 1989. What do you think about this Forever mouse where you would have to subscribe to it?
The Forever mouse, I think, is probably a pretty dumb idea. Unless it is exceptionally cheap. And I guess it depends really what sort of mouse you actually want for your PC. That is probably the biggest question, because if you want the very, very latest in technology for your computer, and you want the very latest mouse whenever it comes out, then depending on how much it is, it probably is worth going for a subscription model, unless you are an enthusiast and you like collecting mice. So yeah, I guess it's between those. It all comes down to the individual and what you actually want to do with your PC, I guess. Right, let's see if I can get this USB. The thing I dislike about USB Type-C is the fact that the cable doesn't fit both ways for the Type-C header. which is stupid because the other end of it does. The actual cable you plug in, nope, that didn't work. So yeah, USB Type-C headers only fit in one way. But the motherboard headers only fit in one way. The actual USB Type-C plugs, as you know, you can put them in whichever way, it makes no difference. So it seems really odd to me that the header isn't that way. Very strange. Right, let's connect up the fan. Where shall I take that through? Let's take it through there. Ooh.
James says, Windows keys for a new build, lads and lasses. Might love that Montec case. ASROCK B550 DDR5 i5
12600K, nice. That's a nice setup you got there, James. Very good.
The fan header from it plugged to the Mobo, but no fans, and have the RGB header into the Mobo too. Great case to build in. 280 AIO fits well up top.
Yeah, this case may not be everyone's cup of tea, and I know at the moment because there's a lot of cases on the market which have the you know, the fish tank look. There's a lot of people that really do appreciate that look, and I understand it. In terms of form and function, I think that this Montec case is arguably the best case on the market in terms of what you actually get in terms of value for money, because you get a USB hub, you get a RGB hub, fan hub, you get USB Type-C, you get loads of potential options for radiators, like 360 in the front, 360 in the top, 140 mils in the back, 140s in the front as well. I don't think you can get a 420 in there. No doubt someone somewhere is going to try and squeeze one in, but it kind of isn't really designed for that. But yeah, in terms of an overall case for 60 quid, it's incredible value for money. It really is. But then you get to a point where you can spend maybe an extra £20 and get a fish tank style case, which is a little bit more fashionable and arguably looks a little bit more blingy, if that's your thing. And the chances are, if you're a PC enthusiast, the whole bling aspect of it is one of the key things. It's like the custom car market. I say it over and over, almost every other stream, that the PC market is very much like the American custom car market, where, like, yeah, you can buy yourself a cheap stock car, which will be fine. It'll get you from A to B and it'll do what you want. It'll look kind of nice, but people like to put their own flair on it. Now, you might not like that flair, so like with us, RGB, some people don't like RGB. I understand that totally, but some people do. So that is what the PC market is about. You can customize your PC essentially however you want it to be, however you want it to look, whatever your price point, whatever your budget. You can build your PC in a damn cardboard box if you want to, and it's still going to fulfill pretty much the exact same role as it would if you put it into a 300, 400 pound case. And yes, they do exist. And in fact, I think MSI do a case which is like getting on for £1,000. It's got like screens in gold and stuff on it. Very odd. Who is? Hey, Skystalker, how you doing? Good to see you. JB says, I can attest to it and agree with Mike on that case. Good for you. JB says, first ASROCK motherboard either my son or I have bought. ASROCK are doing quite a lot of good things recently. It's funny, ASROCK started off with very, very shaky beginnings when they first started out. Some of their boards, I think it was the GX41 or something, on an SIS chipset, it was absolutely horrendous. The returns and failure rate on it were astronomical. Like, I think it's like one in 3 from our particular retail store. And we didn't sell a lot. We probably sold like maybe, I don't know, 50 or so. But there was always a big stack of those green boxes with the ASROCK logo on. But that was the early days when they were quite literally fighting with Asus, because ASROCK were an Asus company. They were like the budget brand of Asus, and they shared things like laboratories, engineers, all that kind of stuff. And there was a lot of like infighting and stuff, which in the early days caused a lot of problems. But they, like a lot of companies, if they're going to succeed, they just keep on putting the pedal to the metal, as they say. And yeah, they've come through it. They've done a pretty good job. Right, I suppose I should fire this thing up and see if it actually works. It's actually very saddening to think that I'm going to have to spend a couple of hours doing a Windows install on this at some point, probably tomorrow, after I finish my day job. Well, one of my day jobs. ASRock is to Asus as AOA was to Sony. Was AOA a Sony brand? I didn't know that. ASRock was really trash back in the day. They've had their moments, to be fair. Some of their Intel boards were pretty shocking. This capture's gone. We're back in the room. Whenever I plug something in there, I think there's a bad earth on it. There we go, it's gone. We're back. We're back. It appears to be working. The fan speed has changed. That's a good sign. And hopefully the motherboard. Yeah, we've got the diagnostic LEDs down in the bottom there, which I'm not sure if you can actually see from there. Can you see those? Yeah, you can, just about. So they're cycling through. It's probably going to have a bit of an upset now, because it's going to be thinking about the RAM, because it's got new RAM. And we've got two LEDs on, so that is VGA and boot. Now VGA is because we haven't got a monitor plugged in, so that is absolutely fine. But it works, and it's kind of nice looking. I do like this case. If I still had my my PC under my desk rather than being on the top of my desk, I probably would have this case. Although I got a feeling it might be a bit too wide. So 9 inches. I've got a feeling that might be a bit too wide. No, 9 inches would be fine. So yeah, I could have had that underneath my desk. But I do like to be, oh, balls. I do like to look up at my PC now and then, see what's going on. So there we go, it's working. Yay! Rasher says ASRock motherboards are getting great reviews over the last few years. Jojo says that looks sharp. Thanks. It's a nice piece. The only thing I think, well, not the only thing, but one of the things which is a shame that Montech didn't put an ARGB fan in the back. In here it's balanced out relatively well because we've got a lot of RGB around the CPU cooler and obviously the RAM. So there's a lot of RGB going on anyway, depending on which angle you're looking at. But I think that's a not a bad looking PC, and the card at the bottom, the extra the extra PCI Gen whatever it is card. You know what I'm trying to say.
Brian says it needs an action figure, so I just showed him that one of me. Crazy cat lady one.
It needs a crazy cat lady action figure. Actually, yeah, if we're talking action figures, let's give it some Boba Fett action.
Oh, they said you look like the bloke from The Mummy, somebody earlier.
I do.
I know, but you could put him in there.
I could put Arnold in there. Arnold Vosloo. Where did I put him? He's here on my desk somewhere. Arnold Vosloo. That's not me, that is Arnold Vosloo. The Mummy. Similarity. Maybe not.
Didn't you have a bobblehead of them?
The mummy?
Yeah.
No. Right, let's put that back. So the PC works. I'm happy with that. If I press the power button, it should turn itself off. There we go. That was probably on the BIOS saying actually memory has changed. Do you want to update the FTPM? But anyway, whatever. It works. I'm happy with that. So let me get this packed away and we'll take a look at some of your questions and comments and see what you all think about this and what was going on. So actually I probably should do a little bit of a tally to work out how much this PC is going to cost, because no doubt someone's going to watch the live stream replay and be like, well, how much is the PC going to cost? So I could work out how much it's going to cost and how much I'm going to sell it for, because I would ideally like to make a little bit on it to subsidize some of the other stuff that we got to buy, as is the nature of the beast, unfortunately. Right, motherboard box. Let's pack some of this stuff away so I can clear the desk and we'll have a look at some of your chat. Rasher says, if you like the video, lads and ladies, don't forget to click on the like button. Make sure you do that. That's always a good sign. Do that.
What's the video card in the system, Mike?
The video card in the system is a Radeon RX 6600 8GB. I'm up tech. Good. I understood that. Well, I'm up tech.
Yeah.
It is.
Nice one, William.
William Bodie has actually come out with some classics over the times. He really has. I'm up tech. If only I could get one of those little...
Do you expect to get this now that's AMD based versus when it was Intel based?
Well, when it was Intel based, if you're on Facebook at all, you can go onto Facebook Marketplace and you can find it. Just look for Intel 12400F gaming PC and put in the search area of being like the Bristol area, and you'll find it pretty much. It was originally listed for £600, and actually we did an associated video which went through where we sourced all the parts and basically kind of worked out how we come to that figure. You could buy the parts yourself and build it for roughly that sort of money, as you'd expect. So yeah, the video, it was based around like a £600 PC, and I think I upgraded one or two things very slightly, but I listed it for £600 with Windows installed and set up and all that kind of stuff, and I then dropped it to I think 580, then 575, and eventually it went down to 549, and still nothing. So I'm thinking the CPU, I should have a calculator actually. Let's get a calculator. I have a calculator button, but my calculator is going to be on the other screen now, isn't it?
Call you later.
We'll call you later.
Is it that something thought you were saying?
I'll call you later, yeah. So,
Call you later.
processor, I'm not entirely sure exactly how much I paid for the processor, the 5600. I think it was either 70 or 75, so let's go for the 75. Then the motherboard was 65. I'm trying to think. The CPU cooler, I'm looking at my notes up here, because a lot of that's going to be wrong now. So, well, the CPU cooler is worth arguably, let's say 30 quid. It is a good cooler. The motherboard we got, CPU we got, the RAM was £50, but now it's down to 36, I think it was. The 1TB M.2, those are going up crazy, so I'm going to say 40 because I think that's what I paid for it. The GPU was 150, the PSU was 35 quid, those are more expensive now. The case was 60, and Windows 3 quid. So if I haven't missed anything out there, which I'm not sure if I have or not, oh, the Type-C card, so it's another 15 quid. So yeah, if I total all that up together, sure I've missed something out. Maybe not. CPU, that works out to be 509. So if that is right, I should be able to list that. I would like to be able to list it at 525. And then if someone can knock me down a little bit to 500 maybe. I think 500 quid for that PC, being that it is really effectively new, I think that's actually not a bad shout. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? How much should I ask for it? So a Ryzen 5 6500 system with effectively all brand new parts, or refurbished brand new parts. Skystalker says, wow, paying 40% of the CPU costs in a tower air cooler is a bit crazy. Use the AMD stock one for the 5600. David Graham says, add your labour. I never really put labour on anything. Even if I do repairs for people, I never add the labour on.
Go up a bit, it's a bit off topic. But
What, Lorraine 2?
yeah.
Lorraine, I can hardly pronounce that. LM. What fan do you recommend for airflow issue in a Fantex P400A Eclipse case with Arctic 360mm AIO mounted in the front of the case with 2 hoses downside on GPU? NFA14. I would probably go with the Arctic P12s or P14s. Those are pretty good. Or failing that, if you want a nicer fan, maybe the CT120 or CT140 EX. Those are really nice. The Noctuas are going to be fine, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Noctua fans. David Graham says 575 for the PC. Jojo says start at 550. Andy Archer says start off at 660. If only. Jonathan Robertson says 550. Rick H says I'd start off at $700. Andy Archer's in the chat. Yeah. He's about.
He skipped past me. I didn't see him.
Greg Dodd says, I do like what you build, but the problem is getting it from you to me. That is often the problem. Because I don't like shipping PCs. I've never been keen on doing that ever. The shipping costs are very prohibitive here in the UK. So, yeah, if I could put it on eBay or something, it would be really nice and easy to do and get people to come around and collect it. But anyway, oh, there's a super chat from David Graham, $2, and says a little towards your labour. Thank you, that's very kind.
Sorry, I was picking my phone up instead of the light remote.
Captain White says, I sold a 5600, some RAM, 1TB NVMe, new thermal cooler, Corsair 4000X, RTX 3060 Ti, and Corsair RM 650 80 plus gold. How much did you sell it for? Got traction in marketplace for about 550, 540. Yeah. The 3600, the 3060 Ti would have been the thing driving that. And the Corsair case. Kids go mad for the Corsair case. Thank you again for the super chat, David Graham. Much appreciated it. Lawrence says, I want to increase the CFM for a mid-tower case to increase the airflow efficiency. If you want it to increase the CFM, so if for a 120mm fan you want to be looking at fans with about 65 to 70 CFM, if you can. To be honest with you, could probably get away with something relatively inexpensive like the Thermalright TL C12Cs. They're like 15 quid for 3. They've actually got pretty decent airflow, about 65 to 66 CFM I think they were. They're reasonable. Irie Wolfman says, Mike, do an Amazon sale deal. Was £999, now £799, last one in stock. Oh, if only. That would be great. GB27 says, I agree with Big O. Arctic fans are the best bang for buck. My lad is now a Noctua snob. William Bodie, please read this, Mike. Advertise the PC with a cheap CPU and a better CPU for extra amount of money. I think I will do that. If I give the option of having the upgrade to the 5700X 3D for maybe an extra 80 quid, that might do it. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Right, let's get some of this packed away. And I'll take a look at your questions. So I'm going to pack these bits and pieces back into the appropriate boxes, just in case O'Reilly wants to send me a cheeky offer. I'm always tempted to leave the CPU on the board, actually. Sometimes it's safer to do that, especially with these LGA sockets, which I'm not a huge fan of. Although I did clean the paste off it, so I suppose I could do. And if anything, at least it relieves some of the... Oh god. I hate taking the CPUs off of LGA.
Do it blindfolded.
Do it blindfolded? Jeez.
Super chat time.
Nick Barnes says, extra £100, do yourself out of money. What's that for the CPU? I can never work out which way these go back in. It must be that way around. There we go.
Captain Mike's currently unblocking that dishwasher. It looks like
Oh.
about to puke.
Yeah.
Gagging with our central heater on, aren't you?
Yeah, I need to do that actually. I haven't done that for a while. Oh god, yeah, our central heating overflow thing into the dishwasher thing, that was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
I could smell at the time, but it was alright. It's like I couldn't clean it all back knowing.
Right, IO shield. Definitely put that in there. And I'll have to remember now which way these go up. I'm sure
Nick Barnes
they go the opposite way.
You setting price for upgrade too low, as it's a £200 CPU, isn't it?
Oh right, it is, but I didn't pay that much for it. I don't want to do everyone down.
Rick H. Mike, once you know your worth, you'll stop giving people discounts.
The thing is, I know my worth to some extent,
We quite like.
but I like to be able to just help people out and like let people have stuff cheap, because I've always been quite a big believer in karma and all that stuff. So like, you guys all help us out massively by watching the videos and liking them and sharing them and super chats and all that kind of stuff, all the donations, the stuff that you send us. Like, we get given a lot of stuff, and in order to us to continue what we do, we need room, and I value the extra room in the house more than I do cash in the bank. So if somebody wants a PC and they haven't got a lot of money, then I'm pretty happy to try and help someone out. Andy Archer has gifted, see, this is what I mean, the tokens of generosity. So Andy Archer has just gifted 5 Mike's Unboxing reviews and how-to memberships. Thank you, Andy. Greg Dodd has been gifted a membership. So has Jonathan Robertson. Tech Soul as well was gifted a membership by Andy Archer. Tech Soul, that rings a bell. Engredia. Yeah, don't know why, just a weird deja vu thing. And Sam Harakoa was also gifted a membership by Andy Archer. Thank you very much, Andy Archer. Much appreciated. Shiny Helmet. Mike, I have an old Sound Blaster X5 titanium sound card on my PC, running a 2.1 speaker set. My motherboard has a Realtek LC1200 sound chip. Should I now use that instead of the Sound Blaster? The thing is with Sound Blaster drivers are generally not great. Not that the Realtek ones are any better at times, but I don't know. I've not seen an X5 titanium, so I'd have to look into it. So I can't really answer that off the top of my head, sorry. Maybe post that question in our Discord at some point, or ask me again next week. I'll try and look. There's another
Discord button.
Oh yeah, Discord button. Well done. Kath was pointing at something like, what have I done? Have I unleashed myself or something?
You can see it above the table.
Yeah, you won't be able to see that. Thank you, O'Reilly. He's also gifted 5 Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How-To memberships. Awesome. Rasher says, seeing as this is sorry, I should do O'Reilly's first, but I read that and chuckled. Chris Hartford was gifted a membership by O'Reilly. Also, Anton Dovatis, Inky1919, Wayne Evans, and Firestorm. There you go. All gifted by O'Reilly. Thank you very much, O'Reilly. Much appreciated.
Oh, that worked perfect.
Rasher says, seeing as this is a selling type video, anyone want to buy a 3-seater, 2.5-year-old DFS sofa? Very good condition. Fartage count not too bad. Brilliant. Oh dear. Skystalker says the mub community has always been a generous group. Yeah, generous with not only like with the kind of the materialistic things like money and parts and donations and stuff, but also with time as well. There's a lot of people in our Discord who, for whatever reason, whether it's just kindness or I don't know, whatever. There's a lot of people in our Discord who just spend a lot of time in there helping out people who actually, to be completely honest with you, sometimes they don't really deserve it. If I'm being completely honest, there's some people in there which do kind of ride the limit of what is kind of not expected, but like it's a free service. We do it out of the goodness of our own hearts. We try and do what we can to help people out, however we can, but sometimes people just kind of don't want to help themselves, it seems, or are too lazy really, or I don't know whether, I honestly don't know whether it's some people are too lazy or a little bit scared. I can never quite work out which. I'm guessing there's going to be some people that are just really scared and it's computer, they're terrified, they don't know what to do, and they've run into a problem. And rather than actually kind of doing the logistic thing of like typing a search into Google and doing a bit of research, they just panic and they just ask the question straight away, like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? And sometimes it gets a little bit frustrating, if I'm honest, because we're all human beings. Well, most of us, Aletta excluded, obviously. But yeah, we're human beings and we've got our own lives, things going on. And sometimes you just get people asking a question. It's like, come on, really? Like, you could have easily typed this into Google. And quite often we actually will type in the question they've asked into Google to get the answer and give it back to them. So, yeah, sometimes it is a little frustrating. But it's, like I say, we're human beings. So you have to take the rough with the smooth. So sometimes you might get a very responsive, detailed and accurate answer. Sometimes you might just get someone say, can you not Google that? Which we do say. We're human beings.
How to use Google video.
We should do a how to I did consider that at one point. I should do a video on how to search or how to sort problems out with Google. Or YouTube, really. Because YouTube is the world's second largest search engine. Not a lot of people know that. The biggest one is Google, obviously, but YouTube is the world's second largest search engine. Captain White, £5 super chat, thank you very much. Says, will AI enable an explosion of indie game development? Discuss. That's an interesting question, actually. We will discuss that, actually.
And
there's another super chat from Mark Gaines as well, £10.
Start it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Mike, did you hear about Intel giving an extra 2-year warranty on the 13th and 14th gen CPUs? I have read that, yes. And I honestly don't know whether that is going to be enough. I think they are in a very tricky position where they need to make the customers happy. They need to make the customers good. So if you've got a processor which is decidedly faulty or showing signs of failure, it should be swapped out. But for one that, the thing is, if the problem does rely or does mean that it's the ring main, so the Intel architecture, basically there's a ring main bus which supplies voltage, I think up to about 1.5 volts between the E cores, the P cores, the cache, and I think the I/O as well. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not an expert on the kind of connectivity and archaeology, or not archaeology, the architecture, sorry, of the processor. But from what I gather, in order to reduce some of the kind of signaling, they've used one like ring bus, like you would in a house. So you've got all your sockets on one ring main. At least that's how we work in the UK. So if you think of it as if you plug in a whole bunch of equipment on the same circuit and you turn it all on at the same time, it'll blow the circuit. And that is kind of what is happening to some extent with these CPUs. They're overloading the circuit in certain instances, whether it's going to be the enhanced thermal velocity boost, which is asking for too much current, and the system's going, yeah, fine. Like, we're within thermal limits at the moment, so yeah, go ahead, have as much current as you want. But the ring bus isn't designed for it, or isn't designed to take that much current. That is partially where some of this is. So actually having a replacement processor isn't gonna really fix the problem. The underlying problem has to be that either all motherboards have to be updated so that whatever it does turn out to be the cause of the problem is rectified and it cannot be overridden. So effectively making all chips non-overclockable, or sorting out the VID, I think it is, which is what the processor asks the system for voltage, and the system says, no, sorry, I'm not going over this limit, or whatever it is. If they can fix it, I don't know if they can. So having a 2-year warranty, yes, is a step in the right direction for sure, or an extra 2 years. But if they're only going to replace like with like, then it's not ideal unless they change the manufacturing process, and that problem is then rectified in future CPUs. So like if there's a B0 or C0 step in, if they do like another stepping model which has a new architecture, which I think is extremely unlikely unless the number of processors which are actually faulty is literally astronomical, in which case they can afford to redesign the silicon and remanufacture it. Now we've got to think as well, we've got the next bunch of processors from Intel due out kind of any time now. Whether or not they're gonna just say, like car manufacturers, if there's a recall, they're like, well, if X amount of people get into an accident, how much is it going to cost us to pay out for this against recalling all the cars and replacing the parts? And they're going to be weighing up that. So they're probably thinking, well, there's X amount of these processors out in the wild, of which 5% of them are definitely going to die. Is that going to be cheaper for us to replace those on an individual basis rather than do a recall? They're going to be thinking about that. I can't imagine them remaking the processors. I think that's unlikely. Hey Dave, how are you doing today?
He wants that thing taken off over his face.
Dave wants that taken off. Okay. So yeah, I'm not too sure. Going back to the other question from Captain White about the AI boom for indie game development. I don't know whether there'll be an explosion of indie game development, because a lot of the tools that are available at the moment actually do make making games and game engines actually quite easy to do. So I don't know whether it'll be an explosion. I'm sure that there'll be some an uptick. I don't know whether it'll be an explosion though. And indie games are a kind of a weird genre where you get some indie games which are they're just terrible, and you can tell they're indie games and they're just released and nothing ever happens to them because they're pretty poor. But every now and then you do get an absolute gem which then gets kind of a little bit of money put into it and it becomes a massive title. We've all seen that happen before. So I'd like to think that AI will enable games to become better, but I don't know if that is even possible. I know there's going to be certain elements of game design which AI is going to help in the process. Whether or not it's going to be able to improve code enough to make a good game an excellent game, I don't know. I think it's an interesting thing to look at. And of course, in the ideal world, we'd love for AI to come in and be fantastic and for you to type in a bunch of stuff into like a game engine which is AI supported and it spits out CS3 or Cyberpunk 20 whatever. That would be fantastic, but realistically I don't think, like, AI is pretty dumb and it's trained on our language model, which again is pretty dumb anyway. So a lot of AI is learning from Reddit and Google and YouTube. So there's so many different things in there which in the wrong context can be completely not what you're looking for, but there's also some things in the right context which can be exactly what you're looking for. So it's trying to work out, or basically separating the wheat from the chaff. There needs to be some sort of system which kind of the AI then sends to another AI which is designed specifically for working out which of the ideas which it's learnt from is the actual winner. Whereas at the moment AI is pretty much more of a gimmick really for a lot of things. For some things it's really good, like for simulations, for medical stuff, for like running massive simulations, but ultimately it's a simulation. They used very similar sort of simulations for things like weather prediction, for medicines, for the flu vaccines, etc. And they are very hit and miss. The weather is mostly wrong or inaccurate. They use it to train the flu models to work out which flu vaccine is going to be the one for the season's flu, and that's normally about 20% successful. So I think it really needs to be, it needs to find its niche, AI, definitely. At the moment, it's kind of like just a really good version of the Google Assistant or the kind of the Amazon Assistant. That is kind of what it's for. Like, I've got these things, can you put them into order for me? Can you make a spreadsheet out of this? That sort of thing. It's kind of helpful, but it's not, at the moment there isn't that kind of real killer application where everyone's going to use it and everyone has to get on board with it. That is going to be, if that happens and someone works out what that application is and how to make AI leverage that into something which is really usable for human beings, then it'll be great. They need really something like the LCAR system from Star Trek. Basically that is what we need in our lives. Just a computer which is everywhere and you just say, hey computer, and it answers questions and gives you reliable, accurate information. That would be awesome. But I don't think it's going to happen. So I don't think it's going to quite... It'll probably be an explosion of people trying game development, which is AI assisted. But I don't think in itself it's going to be like, oh wow, there's going to be tons more games on the market for us to enjoy. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, I don't know. But it's definitely an interesting thing to discuss. I personally think the whole Home Assistant and AI stuff is massively overestimated. And I would expect in probably 3 to 5 years, it will be a distant memory, much like it is with Home Assistants now. Like, remember when Google Home came out or Amazon Alexa? It was like, that was the big thing, the big kind of arms race of whose ecosystem is going to win. And ultimately none of them did, because most people now have either forgotten about their devices or very rarely use them, or just use them as a lazy kind of gadget, like Alexa, turn the lights on. It's not exactly groundbreaking, is it?
What it leads to. Nick Barnes, why did AMD delay their new CPUs? Was it a labeling error or worse?
I honestly don't know about the AMD delay. It could have been a very simple thing, such as a quality control not doing the right logos on the CPU lids. I personally don't think that is something which would warrant really holding back a launch. But if AMD are trying to take some of that market share, and they do believe in this next processor, which it does appear to be very good, I guess they don't want anything to tarnish what would otherwise be a successful launch. Although delaying the launch for this is tarnishing the launch. So I don't know whether or not there's something to do with BIOSes, whether it's something to do with actual physical defects. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. It does seem at the moment that it does appear that it's just a kind of labeling or etching error on the processor lids. At least that's all we know. But some early benchmarks have leaked, and it does look actually, well, yeah, pretty impressive. It's about 15 to 20% faster than the models they're replacing, and it does seem that they're doing that at less wattage as well. So in theory, less wattage should hopefully mean less heat. Hopefully they've improved the thermal interface between the heat shield and the actual silicon, or the processor, so that it doesn't hit these ridiculous 95 degrees Celsius targets. I think that was something which I think we can all agree is not a great thing. But we'll see. It'd be interesting to see how it turns out. We've not got long to wait now. I think it's, what, another week and a bit. Andy Archer says, yes, AI is good with data sets, but not when it's finding are made using internet scanning of corrupt data. Yeah. William Bodie says the MSI monitor with AI is very cool. Yeah, that is actually, yeah, that is quite a cool thing. David Underhill says 27 Google Home enabled devices here. We've got probably 4 Google Home Minis. I've got one light in here now which is controlled by it, or can be controlled by it. I've got the Hive heating system. Obviously the light here was controlled by it as well. I've got a salt lamp in the bedroom and an air diffuser, oil diffuser thing. There's a few things that we've got, probably about, I don't know, 10, 15 devices, but it's the only one that I actually do use on a daily basis is the Google Home Mini in the bedroom, because every morning I say, hey Google, good morning, and it reads.
So often, yeah, notice I've unplugged half of them.
And it reads the news, which is
Hilarious.
not really, yeah, it's fun. It's fun listening to the news, like, oh my god, I woke up in the parallel universe again. But no, when I'm getting dressed, it's just nice to have something to listen to while I'm getting dressed and find out what the weather's going to be like, based on AI. Yeah, it's just some background noise while I'm getting dressed, really. But yeah, other than that, there's only one. Oh, there's a smart plug behind my TV unit in the front room, and for very, very rarely that I use it, but it's really hard to get to. And I've got a stick in there now, so I can actually get a stick behind the TV and press the power button to turn it on. But otherwise, I've got to go into the app and turn on the thing, because the Google Home Mini in the front room is disconnected, turned off. Whereas normally I'd go in there, hey Google, turn on TV, and the TV would turn on. So for that, it's useful, but it's just taking over from being me lazy, really. I could go in, move the TV a bit, press the button, and turn it all on. So it does simplify it, and I guess if I was an older person or lacked mobility, it would be really good, but it's not. Aletta says, AI has helped me a lot with my writing. I can turn a messy story idea into a clear story synopsis, and then turn that synopsis into a full outline in just a few minutes instead of a few weeks. But then that becomes almost an issue of who has the intellectual property there, because the original idea or the structure of that idea was done by AI. It's your book, you've written it, but that's where I see the grey area, especially with things like videos and anything which is reproduced or sold on, because there's always going to be that gold rush in there that people want to make money somewhere. So it's going to get to the point where there's going to be a thing like, well, AI has rights, or AI means that you don't have a copyright because it's done by a global AI thing. It's a weird thing. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure how it's going to all pan out. And until all the countries and governments in the world all agree on one standard for how AI is done, the law, how it works to copyrights, all that kind of stuff, where at the moment there's like various things all over the world where they're all doing something slightly different. So especially that, like, YouTube is a global thing, obviously. It's in pretty much every country on the planet, I guess. So if they've all got different copyright laws and regulations, who kind of overarcs all of that? I think it can get messy. But then hopefully it will just disappear soon anyway. We'll see. Ordinary Dude says, 0 Google devices here and never will be. Call me a Luddite. No, it's fine if you don't need them. It's great. Kath would be well up for that.
Quite like to get rid of electricity, to be fair.
Kath wants to be an Amish.
Oh God, yeah. Dream. Growing my hair ready.
Rasher says, my 3-year-old BMW M-Power has stopped connecting via Bluetooth. Oh, technology. Paranoid says, like Japan has no fair use law. Viali100 says, Terminator has showed us what would happen. That is, I guess, if you look at dystopian future, the whole Terminator thing does actually kind of point to where we're headed. And it was kind of foreshadowing or forewarning or foreboding or whatever the thing is, that AI, if it's left to its own devices, could do all kinds of weird stuff. Aletta says, I don't see any difference in using AI to help write an outline than brainstorming with friends, except for the time savings. Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's a convenience factor, definitely. And if it speeds up or helps you, then yeah, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't use it. As just like I say, like with YouTube video now, if you use AI in a YouTube video, you have to state when you upload the video that AI was used. So now Google and YouTube are aware of titles which have AI used in them, whether it's to modify the outcome of the video or to make something look like it happened when it didn't, whatever. But if you use AI to change what would otherwise be normal, so even if you change the background, so if I used AI and changed this background, I have to make you aware that I've used AI in this background, or I've used AI in this video, where it's been modified so that something doesn't look how it should. Which is kind of like, well, that's what a green screen does, but we never had to say anything about that. Because people were obvious, it was pretty obvious for a lot of people that you were on a green screen. Maybe because the technology for AI has become so good that trying to distinguish fact from fiction or real life from AI is going to get more and more problematic. I don't know. It's a very weird thing. It'll be interesting to come back and look at this in 10 to 15, maybe 20 years' time and see how it's all panned out. Jonathan Robertson says, Terminator scares the shit out of me now. Just imagine your Roomba tries to eat your foot. Andy Archer says, Temu steals your phone data. Yeah, I was very tempted to install the Temu app because it looks very interesting and all that kind of real cheap stuff, but yeah, not good. Carl G says science fiction turns to science facts. Just look at the film I, Robot. Yeah. William Bodie says the thing is, today's AI is not real AI. Cheers, Danmar. Yeah, the terminology for AI has been somewhat hijacked. So from the science fiction and what we've all assumed AI to mean is some autonomous, self-thinking, self-regulated, maybe something like Johnny Five from the movie Short Circuit, if you're old enough to remember that. So this was a robot which got struck by lightning, I think, and then it kind of somehow had a conscience and an intellect of its own. So it effectively became as close as you can imagine to a human being, but in a mechanical form, much like the Terminator and things like that. So that is what we kind of have grown up or been programmed to believe that AI is, or artificial intelligence. You could argue it's such a wide field that even a very simple circuit which can detect maybe a raindrop is an artificial intelligence of types. Even your Google Home Assistant or your Amazon Alexa are effectively artificial intelligence because they are pretending to be a helpful assistant, whereas the reality is they are acting to a set of pre-programmed inputs or commands. So they're not so much artificially intelligent, they've just been programmed to appear that way. So I don't think we're at the moment anywhere close to an artificial intelligence, but we are getting closer to machines being able to replicate the effect of the appearance of artificial intelligence. Number Johnny Five is alive. Right, I think we have pretty much... Oh, actually, I haven't put that one. I knew there was something I had to put away. I need one of you, or many of you, to help me with a very simple thing. Now, normally, most things, like, I'm not a software person, I'm more of a hardware person. I understand hardware, it's like Lego. Software often confuses the bejesus out of me, and I was trying to do something very simple with my A1 Mini 3D printer. Now what I wanted to do was to make basically a cube. Now you'd think this would be one of the easiest things you could possibly do on a 3D printer. Just a cube. Basically a sugar cube, but made of plastic. And do you know what? I couldn't do it. I just don't seem to have the understanding or the knowledge of how these things work. So I really struggled. I did eventually get it to work, but I was kind of assuming that I could just go into the application, grab a random shape, put it onto the bed, press slice, and it would create whatever I put on the bed. It doesn't seem that's how it works. So I really do need, if anyone would like to give me some help or even point me in the right direction for really, really basic 3D modeling, how to put together or how to make your own design. I'll tell you what it was for actually. It's a daft thing really, but I thought, well, I've got a 3D printer, I could try doing it. So this is my little test bench. Thanks Riley and Bob. So this has got a SFX power supply on it, but it's designed really for ATX power supplies. So there's a little bit of a gap underneath. So what I wanted to do is there's like a little gap there and there's two holes either side. So I literally just printed out a cube. This is, I think, 13 millimeters high, 18 millimeters wide by 18 millimeters. So that just slips under there and supports the power supply when it's in this orientation. But then I came to thinking, actually, if I look underneath here, there's actually two holes. So I'm not sure if you can see that now. So the plastic cube now is kind of straddling that metal bar. So I thought to myself, well, maybe actually I could make that cube wider and maybe have little lugs either side of that bar so it kind of stops it slipping around or sliding around. I could just glue it, but I don't necessarily want to. So I thought, well, maybe I could do that, make it wider and then add on two elongated kind of sections like legs either side of there to stop it wiggling around. But I struggled to get the cube to come out, so I don't know how to do it. I just don't know how to put together a 3D model. I've assumed it would be easy, but clearly it isn't, or I just don't know the basics or the kind of the concept behind it all. It doesn't quite make sense to me. Maybe I need to use a different program, or the Bamboo Studio program isn't great. So yeah, if there's anybody who could help me out with that, I would be very much appreciative of the time. Colin Hilton says, I've just had my 8th lot of adverts. Are they getting a little bit aggressive, the adverts? If people are getting pissed, I've just noticed actually on the screen, I did see that pop up. It did say that they were going to reduce the amount of adverts shown on streams, so as not to upset people. So if that is the case, if people are getting pissed off and they're seeing too many adverts, we can reduce them or turn them off entirely. I would ideally like to keep them on, because obviously when the video goes to the video on demand, it's nice to have a little bit of residual income coming in from the videos, but we can turn it off if there's a problem. So let us know.
Apparently YouTube has changed the way they do ads.
Right, okay. So O'Reilly says on the iPad it's been very aggressive with ads. Okay. Nick Barnes says he's only had 2 so far. Dutch Jan's using Brave, so no ads.
I've had quite a few on mine, to be honest.
Yeah, I've noticed it. It's just come up again there. Ads will run shortly for some viewers. Skip ads. Screw you, ads. I caught it that time. It just come up in the corner of the screen saying that there's a countdown. So if I see it, I'll prevent it. I'll stop the ads for the rest of it. Although, it shouldn't be less. O'Reilly says, I've noticed less adverts if I was using my browser on my desktop. Interesting. Okay. Oh well, we'll keep an eye on that. If it's getting problematic, genuinely, if you're getting upset with watching adverts when they come up on the live stream, then do let us know and we'll take a view on it. And if it gets to the point where it's intrusive and it's stopping the enjoyment of the streams, we'll turn them off. Because I don't want people being pissed off and not watching because there are adverts.
YouTube ads are getting embedded now.
Oh, are they? Bastards. Oh well. Rasher says, what's Brave like for learning the truth? The truth is out there. You just got to find it. Or be allowed to find it.
On page 115.
Anyway, I think that's it. We've got to 11 o'clock. Hello there, Thanos. You've joined right at the very end, so my apologies there. I'd just like to say thank you again to everybody who is stuck by us and is keep on supporting the channel with the donations, super chats and all that kind of stuff, and also the YouTube memberships. Much appreciated. Don't forget, with the memberships you do get early access to the videos, and in the moment it's a really good thing. If you do get early access, try and watch the videos, because we're trying to get it so if we find any deals, we post them early just so you guys can also join in. Now, the motherboard and the CPU, which was in tonight's stream, the 5600 and also the ASROCK B550 Pro 4, both at the moment are in stock on AliExpress. Check out for codes. You might be able to still get some discount codes that will work. We did actually post the discount codes on the Discord. So if you go to the Discord section, bargains, no chat, have a scroll through, you'll find AliExpress codes. Whenever there's a new codes coming out there, whenever there's a new code or codes coming out, we'll always post them in there so you can get access. I will try and make it more tailored towards our UK viewers because, well, most of it is UK. I generally don't look on the American sites that often. Often there are options. Yeah, if you're an American or wherever you're from in the world, feel free to drop the codes in our Discord in the bargains section or bargains chat, whatever you want to do. That would be great, because then it helps everybody try and get a bargain. And like I said earlier in the video, a B550 motherboard, a half decent one, the Pro 4, with a 5600 is a really nice combination. And if you can pick it up for, I don't know, maybe 120, 130 pounds, including taxes, I think that's really good value for money. It's a cracking platform for a little gaming PC, it really is. Anyway, so yeah, we'll post all those in the chat. Thank you all so much for helping support the channel. I'm trying to think what else I need to say. I'm sure there's something I've forgotten to say, and I was like, oh, I'll say that on the stream. I can't think what it is now. But anyway, I will be posting that PC. I'll be doing a Windows install. I'm tempted to do another Windows install video from start to finish. So how to get Windows 11, how to get it onto a USB stick, how to install it on your computer, how to install your chipset drivers and all that kind of stuff. But then I'm thinking it'd also be a good idea to do it with the XD anti-spy as well, because I think that is going to be a really key thing, especially for stopping all this kind of bloatware and spyware. And it's actually made my PC run really, really nicely. Again, members I think should be getting that video out already. If they haven't, it might just be patrons at the moment, but when it comes out, XD anti-spy, absolutely cracking piece of software. Highly, highly recommended. It's not the easiest of things to use and to install, but then I can't print simple cubes on a 3D printer, so what do I know? Anyway, I've waffled on for way too long. Hopefully you've had a relatively enjoyable evening. Hopefully you've had a relatively enjoyable evening and enjoyed the stream. If you have, smash the like button. If you want to see more content like this and you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button and the chime notification. That way you'll be notified of future video releases. But for now, I've been Mike, that's been Kath, and this has been Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. Put me right off my straight then, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. My brain has actually gone to sleep now. So with all that said, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and we'll see you bright and early on Monday. Thanks for watching. Bye. See you, bye, Kath.